Well, folks, I don't know how many of you have found it difficult to pick up the staples in the grocery store during this virus time, but I noticed that a lot of the shelves are empty, and I know this is a worldwide thing. It's not just a thing where we live. But one of the things that was picked up quite a bit, well, I had trouble finding, that is kind of unusual because I didn't know how many people use them, was beans, dried beans. Now, of course, dried beans will keep in your cupboards for years, and if you put them into a jar and put them in a pressure canner and you can seal them that way, they'll last even longer. I'm talking about the dried beans. So when I noticed all the shelves were empty, I wondered how many people actually bought the beans to take home, not really knowing how to work with them. So I'm going to talk about 3 different ways today to use beans in a recipe. My end result today is soup. So, sorry, because I didn't start this last night here, but I could have. Here's the step you do for that. So I would take my 1 cup of beans and I would put them first of all into a strainer. This is 1 cup because I'm making enough for 2 of us for a soup. So I only need 1 cup because these are going to easily double in size, actually probably a little more than that. I'm just going to dump them first into a sieve, and I'm going to check them to make sure that all the beans are perfect. Sometimes you'll get beans that pass through the inspection that may be a little not quite so perfect. And so I've had a good look at them and I think they're good. Now, if you had started these the night before, you would put them on the counter. If you're using 2 cups of beans, you would use, I don't know, I'd probably use 6 cups of water to cover them. And you want, because once they swell, you want them to still be covered. So you leave them overnight, and then by noon the next day, they are ready to go. And you can use them in your soup or however you're going to use them. You need to cook them at that point, though. Another way you could do them is when you get up first thing in the morning, is to put them in a bowl again, or even a pot if you're going to cook them, and cover them with hot water this time, and make sure that they remain under the hot water the entire time. Today I'm going to use the Instant Pot because that's what I'm going to make my soup in, so I might as well start off there. So to my Instant Pot, I'm going to add the beans, and then I'm going to add 4 cups of water. 4 cups of water should do it. And I will be adding it straight from the tap. So you can come along for this if you like. I should have gotten out a fluid measure. I'm sure maybe there are young cooks out there that don't know the difference between a fluid measure and a dry measure. This cup is intended for dry measures. So if you're using it to scoop flour, you can actually cut off the excess to make sure you get a proper cupful. In a fluid measure, you pour it in and then you can see on the line where it's at. So that's the difference. So they look good in there. Maybe just, if you were cooking these to eat, I might add a bit of salt into them, but because I'm going to be using them in soup, in a stock, even though the stock says it's low sodium, I will probably have enough salt just there. So I'm just going to put the lid on it now. This is a pressure cooker. Not at all like our grandmother's pressure cookers. These ones are very, very safe. I'm not worried about it blowing up and giving me any grief. I am taking the weighted dial at the back and I'm turning it from venting to sealing to make sure that it's ready. And then here on the front, right now it says off. I'm going to go to pressure cook, and I'm going to make sure that it's on the high setting here. If it's not, I could change the pressure level here. And I'm going to take this pot up to 20 minutes. And we'll hear it beep 3 times to let us know it's understood our directions. And I will see you back in here when it's time to make soup. So that's all there is to it. I'll see you soon. Well, here I am back in the kitchen again, and I'm working on the beans today, and I'm on my way to making a delicious vegetable soup at this point. So I have allowed this to naturally release. The little steam valve has just dropped, and we are 29 minutes into it. So it's safe now for me to remove the lid. Always open the canners away from you so that you don't get the steam in the face. That seems obvious, but we have to keep telling people that. So now I'm just going to drain the beans. They look beautiful. I'm going to need to have something to take that liner out with, though. So I'm just going to take this pot out and turn back to my sink. Sorry about my back being to you there. So this is what the beans look like. You can see how much they have doubled in size in that short time, in the 20 minutes cooking time. And then I allowed them to sit after that for another 20, no, almost 30 minutes before I got back to them. They're easy to squish, fully cooked. So now I'm going to put the beans back into the pot, and I'm going to start adding some of the other ingredients. So I've got them kind of all over the place here. I am going to cut up 2 carrots. This actually really goes quite quickly if you use a lot of frozen vegetables in it, which it's just fine. Absolutely to use frozen vegetables if you have some in your freezer that you need to get used up. This is the kind of project that they work really well for. They don't all have to be the same size, although these are pretty dense. You want to get them close to the same size. So in goes 2 carrots, and I also have half of a sweet potato cut up, because I think that will definitely add to our enjoyment in there. In fact, I might add a little more, we'll see yet. And in this pan, I sweat 2 ribs of celery and a half a small onion in a little bit of butter, and 1 clove of garlic that I just grated on my little grater. And we're going to put that in there. I'm just building the different layers at this point. We're going to let the pot do all the work. And I'm going to add a half a teaspoon of thyme. Maybe not quite that much, yeah, pretty close. I just like the flavor of it in vegetable soup. And I'm going to add maybe a cup and a half of these Green Giant mixed vegetables. So it looks like there's peas, corn, green beans, and a bit of carrots in there. I'm adding them frozen because this mixture is not going to be in the pot very long, and these bits are a lot smaller than the raw bits in the pot. So I'm happy to start with them frozen because hopefully they'll come together and be done at about the same amount of time without these getting too soggy. So I'm going to just dump in about a cup and a half. Now my pot is getting very close to the full mark, and we know that at the full mark we have 4 adult-sized bowls of soup coming out of this pot. I'm going to put in some just no salt added chicken stock. It's probably going to be about 3 cups, I think. And then I'm going to add what is left in this jar, which is not much, of the chicken stock. You know, the kind better than bouillon. And we like it, so we use it. Hope I'm not going to get into any trouble for using all these brand names. That's pretty much it, folks. I'm going to find some large utensil to stir with, because I just kind of want to make sure that everything in the pot is mixed up well. Now, this doesn't have to be vegetable soup. If you had leftover chicken or ham or even beef, you could certainly add it to this pot and have yourself a delicious soup. In fact, you could add it after the cooking process is over with. So if you've got some vegetarians or vegans in your group, then you may want to substitute vegetable stock from the store rather than chicken stock. And you certainly could make your own. No, it needs a titch of salt, just a titch. So I'm gonna add it right now. While I'm at it, I'm gonna add just maybe 1/4 teaspoon. Not very much. And I'll also add some fresh ground pepper. That was about 1/4 teaspoon. Now, I think we're all set. And can you see the pot? Yep, you can. So I'm going to put the lid on the pot. This little pot's been busy this morning. It's hard to do when you can't see the front of the pot, I'm discovering. Now, right now I'm going to make sure that my exhaust valve is turned to sealing, and then I think I am just going to pressure cook this for another 5 minutes. I think that'll be plenty of time to cook the vegetables that are in the pot, as well as bring everything together. 5 minutes on high. So we're going to cancel this. We're going to go to pressure. We're going to come down to 5 minutes. It's hard for me to do this hanging over like this. 3, 4, 5. And that's it, folks. That's as easy as it is to make a wonderful soup in this pot. And again, you can do this very same recipe on the stove top by soaking your beans overnight, or by soaking them on the counter for a couple hours in hot water the day of. I use the pot because I have it, and it really does cut down my cooking time. So once this soup is all ready to eat, I will be back to show you the final product. And I promise to you that I will straighten out this camera a little bit because it looks like I'm on a bad lane. Anyway, thanks for hanging in there with me while I learn all about all of this stuff, and I'll see you soon. Well, here you have it, folks. Here is the final product. We started off with the dry beans, and now we have this lovely soup for lunch. We just let it cook in the pot for 5 minutes, and when it was finished, I did a quick release on the pot because we didn't want anything to cook any longer than that. The carrots are soft, all the frozen vegetables are perfect, and the beans are now not overcooked. They're perfectly cooked as well. So when it was finished, and I could take the lid off the pot, I let the steam out, then I took the lid off the pot. I added 1 cup of prepared spaghetti sauce, just a sweet basil tomato sauce, into the mixture. You could leave that out, but we like it that way, and found that if we cook it in the soup, it's not as pleasing as if we just add it at the end. So this is what's for lunch today at our house, and I'd be interested to find out what you're fixing for lunch today. And have you tried any beans? Please don't be afraid of them. They're really good for us, and they're very easy to use. If you've enjoyed this video, we hope that you will give it a like and share it out with your friends. And if you are enjoying what you're seeing, please subscribe to our channel. That would make us all kinds of happy. And I hope that the rest of your weekend goes well, and that we will see you back here again soon with something new. Take care.